Welcome back to the deep dive. All right, so you know the drill. You give us a whole stack of info and we dig through it with Ya. This time, it's data monetization. You sent over a bunch of blog posts about it.
Yeah, it seems like everyone's talking about how companies are turning data not into literal gold, but, into cold, hard cash.
Uh-huh. Yeah, like they just discovered they've been sitting on a treasure chest.
Right.
And these blog posts actually lay out a kind of roadmap, like a four-stage journey to, unlock that data potential.
It's almost like leveling up your data game, like from, I don't know, a lemonade stand to like a whole beverage empire.
Okay, I like that.
Each stage, it builds on the one before it, and things get more and more, well, complex.
All right, so let's start at the very beginning. What's stage one all about?
Stage one, it's about recognizing that data is an asset. Even if you're not sure how to use it yet,
Okay.
it's about shifting your thinking. Not seeing data as just a cost, but seeing its potential.
So kind of like finally realizing that your grandma's attic is packed with valuable antiques.
Exactly. You might not know what each item is worth yet, but there's potential value there.
Right.
And this is where having a modern data infrastructure is so important.
Okay.
The blog posts, they all emphasize that.
So like setting up shop, making sure you have the right, shelves and display cases for all these newfound treasures.
Exactly. But then what happens? You've got the shops set up. Now, how do you actually make money from these data antiques?
Yeah, good point. So how do we go from just admiring the collection to actually, doing something with it? Are we talking like an online auction or a storefront or maybe even starting a, I don't know, antique restoration business?
Well, the blog posts really emphasize testing the waters first. Figure out potential use cases and importantly, validate them. That means, building a proof of concept to see if your ideas actually work.
So before we rent that storefront, we got to see if there's even a market for vintage typewriters, right? No point investing in a fancy display case if no one's buying.
This stage is all about experimenting. Try different things, see what works, and figure out which data monetization models, fit your business.
Okay, this is starting to sound kind of like a treasure hunt. We've got the map, we're gathering our tools, now we're starting to, explore the terrain. What's next? Do we start digging?
Stage 3 is where we start seeing the treasure emerge. This is where companies go from, exploring to actually generating value.
Okay, we found the X that marks the spot. Time to start excavating those data diamonds. What does that actually look like?
So it means taking those successful prototypes from stage 2 and, scaling them up, making them available to a wider audience. The blog posts highlight a really key decision here, whether to provide raw data or enrich it with analytics.
So are we selling the raw gemstones or are we crafting them into, beautiful jewelry?
Think of it this way. Raw data is like a box of loose pearls. It has potential, but it needs to be, strung together, polished, set in gold to really shine. Adding insights and analytics, it's like creating that exquisite necklace.
I like that analogy. So we're not just selling data, we're selling the insights, the stories, the solutions.
Insights.
We're helping people understand what it means and how they can use it.
Yeah. And the blog posts actually have this helpful diagram. It shows how the value of the data increases as you move from raw data to aggregated data, enhanced data, analyzed data, and finally data insights. It's about taking those raw materials and turning them into something really valuable. And then we move to stage 4, data monetization acceleration.
Okay.
This is where data becomes like a core part of the business.
So less about digging for individual treasures and more about establishing a whole mining operation.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. At this stage, companies are, scaling up, refining their products, expanding their reach.
Building the refineries and distribution networks and marketing campaigns.
Yeah.
All fueled by data.
Yeah. The blog posts really emphasize standardization partnerships during this stage.
Okay.
Standardization, it helps streamline things, make sure everything's consistent.
Right, right.
And partnerships. Well, they can give you access to new markets or technology that might be hard to develop yourself.
Okay, makes sense.
It's about building a well-oiled machine, churning out those data insights and products.
Okay, but let's rewind a bit. How are companies actually monetizing this data? The blog posts talk about indirect and direct monetization.
Right.
Can you break those down for me?
Sure. Indirect monetization, it's about using data to improve existing products or services.
Okay.
You're not directly charging for those insights, but you are using them to improve your business.
So it's less about selling the data and more about using the data to sell everything else.
Exactly. A great example, and this is highlighted in the blog post, is Spotify Wrapped. You know, that end-of-year personalized summary of your listening habits that
I love that. Always cracks me up to see what obscure genres Spotify thinks I'm into.
Right. But it drives massive engagement,
Yeah.
boosts brand awareness, generates a ton of free publicity.
So they're turning our data into a marketing engine.
Pretty much.
Okay, smart. What about direct monetization? That seems a bit more straightforward.
Yeah, it is. Direct monetization means you're charging customers for access to your data or insights. So that could mean selling raw data sets, providing data-driven reports, or offering data-powered APIs that other companies can integrate into their own applications.
So like opening up a data marketplace. Businesses can browse and purchase the data they need.
Exactly.
Okay. What are some of the key things to think about when setting up a direct monetization strategy?
Well, you need a plan. The blog post really hit on that.
Makes sense.
You can't just slap a price tag on a spreadsheet. You need a defined strategy with clear pricing, packaging, and tiers.
So make the data appealing, accessible, easy to understand.
Yeah. And when it comes to pricing, the blog posts talk about two main approaches:
Okay.
cost-based pricing and value-based pricing.
All right, tell me more about those.
So cost-based pricing, it's pretty simple. You calculate the cost of collecting, storing, processing the data at a margin, and boom, that's your price.
So you're making sure you cover your expenses and make a profit, right?
Yeah, right.
But are we maybe leaving money on the table by only focusing on the cost of the data and not the value it could have for someone else?
Good point. That's where value-based pricing comes in.
Okay.
Here, you're pricing the data based on the value it offers to the customer, taking into account things like its uniqueness, the insights it provides, the competitive advantage it gives them.
So with value-based pricing, we're selling solutions of possibilities, not just data points.
Exactly. Value-based pricing can lead to higher revenue, but you need to really understand your customer and what they need.
Okay. Once we figured out pricing, what about packaging? How do we make this data appealing, user-friendly?
The blog posts suggest tiered pricing packages, kind of like software companies do.
Yeah.
You know, you might have a basic package with limited data, a premium package with more features and insights, and then an enterprise level package with the whole shebang.
A data plan for everyone. I like it.
Yeah.
But how do we actually deliver all this data? We're not shipping hard drives, are we?
Haha, not quite.
Yeah.
In this day and age, we're talking about data apps.
Data apps. Now that sounds fancy. Tell me more.
So a data app, it's a software application. It gives users access to and the ability to analyze and visualize data.
Good.
It can be as simple as a dashboard with key metrics or as complex as a platform that lets users run queries and build models.
So it's like giving customers a powerful toolkit to really dig into the data.
Exactly.
What are the must-have components of a data app?
The blog posts break it down into a few core components. First, data sources and connectivity, you know, connecting your app to all those different data sources.
Right, so tapping into the data flow.
Then, of course, you need somewhere to store all that data. Okay.
So that might involve databases, data warehouses, or even data lakes.
Like a data warehouse, keeping it all organized.
Yeah. Then comes data processing and modeling. Cleaning, transforming, structuring the data, and maybe even enriching it with additional info.
So taking the raw ingredients and whipping up a gourmet meal?
Pretty much.
Right.
And once the data is prepped, it's time for analytics and visualization. Applying statistical models, machine learning algorithms, and data visualization techniques.
The aha moment, right?
Exactly.
Uncovering the patterns and trends and insights.
And visualization helps make sense of it all. Charts, graphs, dashboards, you know, all that good stuff.
Because a spreadsheet full of numbers can be a bit much. A good chart or graph tells a story.
Yeah.
Makes it all click.
Exactly. And last but not least, you need a user interface, the front end of the app, where people actually interact with the data.
So it's going to be intuitive, engaging, easy to use. We want people to enjoy exploring the data.
Right. The blog posts talk about user-centered design.
Making sure the interface caters to the needs of your target audience.
So we're not just building an app, we're crafting an experience. But now we've got to figure out, do we build our own data app from scratch?
Yeah.
Or buy a pre-built solution?
Yeah. That's the question, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
deciding, do we bake a cake from scratch or just grab one from the bakery?
Right. Both have their pluses and minuses.
Exactly.
Building your own custom app, it gives you control, you know, overall the features, how it works, the whole user experience.
Right.
But it takes time, resources, expertise. Buying a pre-built solution, it can be faster and cheaper,
Right.
but you might be giving up some flexibility.
So I got to weigh those trade-offs and figure out what works for your business.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive into the world of data monetization. We went from seeing data as just this, byproduct to recognizing it as a potential gold mine.
Yeah, data's become a valuable asset for everyone, really.
What really stood out to me was the distinction between, direct and indirect monetization.
It's amazing how companies like Spotify can use data to make their product better and boost engagement without directly charging for insights.
It's all about creating value.
Right.
Whether you're selling data directly or using it to improve what you already offer, the key is having a good strategy and the right tools.
So for our listener who's digging into all these blog posts, what are the key takeaways? What should they be thinking about?
I think the big takeaway is that data is not just a cost anymore. It's an opportunity.
Yeah.
Even if you're not planning to sell your data, understanding these principles of data monetization, it can help you make better products, improve your customer experience, make smarter decisions.
It's about seeing data as a strategic asset,
Absolutely.
not a liability.
It seems like the companies that are really winning in today's world, they're the ones who are embracing data at every level.
Totally.
As we wrap up, I'd like to leave our listener with one thought.
Okay.
As we get better at getting value from data, we got to be mindful of using it responsibly.
Right.
How can we make sure data is used ethically and that everyone benefits?
That's something to think about for sure. The future of data monetization is, well, it's exciting,
Yeah.
but it's up to us to make sure we navigate it responsibly.
Until next time, happy data diving.